all his other feats. We all know Franklin as the inventor of bifocal reading glasses, but that was merely the start. His famous work with electricity is legend, starting with the kite and the key, but extending to the lightning rod. Franklin even invented the language of his new science, coming up with the terms: positive and negative charges, conductor, and battery.
We're actually looking at the first modern-day battery. It's actually an aggregate of what's called a Leyden jar. And the electricity would go through the brass knob you see at the top and be stored inside the glass container. Well, the genius of Benjamin Franklin was he realized that if you put several of them together, you can store much more static electricity, discharge it all at once, creating a very powerful jolt. And he named it battery after the military term referencing several guns firing at once. One of the really cool artifacts we have here is called the static tube. And what's interesting about it is if you rub this tube with either silk or wool, it takes the electrons from the glass, transfers them out into the wool, and leaves a positive charge around the glass. And Franklin would stuff the glass tube with feathers, and the positive charges would then charge the feathers, which would float and levitate inside the tube. And so A, it showed electrical science, but B, it also provided what Franklin really liked, was a little bit of magic and pizzazz in his demonstrations.
Franklin also invented the odometer, since he needed a way to measure distances for his postal routes. America's postmaster, Ben Franklin, took temperature readings all the way across the Atlantic and discovered the Gulf Stream current. His map was so accurate, it is essentially the one still used today.
Now we're getting ready for the entree, which is a beef and pork pie. Take any kind of a pork shoulder, any kind of pork roast, or better yet, leftover Sunday dinner. Think about that. That's what it's really meant for. The unique thing about this dish is that the meat is cooked twice. Not unusual, as we today know in Chinese cooking, but you gotta remember, the 18th century chefs, same thing. They were not, you experiment once or twice with eating something that didn't agree with you, I think you learn pretty quick. We just cut it up in a quick dice. Actually, you know what, Bill? Help me cut this up here. Then what you have a dachi and the oven, you make nice and hot. It's a very simple dish, short of the pâte brisée that we're going to teach you in a moment. That's why Bill is here, because it's complicated. Pâte brisée is basically an unsweetened pie dough. Dachi is hot. It smells in there. Garlic. Onion. Mushroom. You want the meat? No? And beautiful. The red wine that does it. You're deglazing it, you're cooking it down. And once it's cooked down, see what that goes? Alright. And put it back on the fire. There you go. Put it on the fire for me. Let the red wine reduce. Go ahead. Bill just put the beef and pork that is simmered that you saw quick with schmaltz, lard, a little bit of garlic, onion, and the mushrooms, and deglazed with red wine back on the fire. All I'm going to do now is let the red wine reduce a little bit, and then I'm going to finish it with a brown sauce, any kind of brown sauce. Again, demi-glace if you have, but you don't need to. There's so much flavor in the goodness of the meat already. Bill's going to get started on the pâte brisée. Don't stop, Bill. Get on that. But before even Bill gets more started on that, let me tell you quick. One of the main reasons that so many twice-cooked pies were served in the 18th century is because lack of refrigeration. So if you had something that you cooked once when you roasted and you didn't properly store it, you cooked it again, and henceforth you are safe, because once you bring it up over 165 degrees, you're in pretty good shape. So that's what it is. So while he is putting together you see, it's all-purpose flour. He's got the lard that he's folding in there right now, and the egg in there, and he's going to make this to a regular pie dough. Once the pie dough has the consistency, he's then going to roll it out, and basically when you make this dish, and it's the most important tip for this recipe, is you need advanced preparation. What I just did now with the thing is the one step, but then you have to chill it down, because you could not fill hot filling into a dough. It would never work. reducing really nicely. Needs a little bit more time, but oh, the flavor. You smell it, Bill? Look at it. Beautiful flavor. I'm going to put it back on the fire a little bit. He's almost ready with that. And then I'm going to add the demi-glace in here, and off the fire it goes. So, important to remember that when working that is, you don't have to use lard. Everybody's going to send letters in where to get a lard from. Any kind of shortening will work. But the thing is, even nowadays, some of the best bakers and some of the best pie doughs are made with lard. The flavor is just better. And quite frankly, I'm not so sure what's better for you, the lard or the synthetic shortenings that we have nowadays. That's for you to decide. So he's going to roll it out quickly, and then my stuffing is going to be ready. So we're then going to form two squares where we're going to fill in the beef and pork mixture into it, and then later goes in the oven. Now look at that. It's a complicated recipe, but it's not complicated with pre-planning. Once you have this all done, once you have it ready on a baking sheet, your company comes over, in the oven it goes, and you serve a beautiful, beautiful meal. So Bill, look at me quick the stuffing. The stuffing for the pie. And the pie is a pie that is shaped in a triangle, as you're going to see shortly. Want to put it in? And give me the demi-glace over. It's perfect. The aroma of that, I mean, it's just, I mean, in a sense, it's almost like a beef and pork stew. Short off, we're adding in the demi-glace right now, pour it right in. Okay, here you go. Careful, it's hot. Stays hot, here you go. Put this back on the fire. That is like, once in a while when I make this in a restaurant, I just grab a spoon of that and put over some noodles, and it's better than many foods that are flying around there, but everything in the 18th century is good. It's all about goodness here. Put it back on the fire. Don't have to go on the fire anymore, just put it on the front. And let's go get ready with yours. And like I explained, when you make that, this is an advanced preparation needed, serious advanced preparation, because now it has to sit up and get cold. And by sitting up and get cold, it's got to congeal. So basically you want to put it in your refrigerator that it gets really, really, really cold, because otherwise you would have no way to get this into a triangle. Would never work for you. We'll have it ready now. It's going to egg wash it really good first, and then we put it in, and in the fire it goes. Depends how big you want to make it. We also make them as appetizers, by the way, but then you have to cut the meat real small. It's a delicious appetizers as well. Then what you want to do is, what you're doing right now, is folding it over, you're squeezing it down really good. Take the edge down. Going to strain it out a little bit, because we are on a taste of history. Everything has to be perfect. And now, then we're going to make some little doohickeys in here. The reason for that is to let the steam evaporate. You can do a few, you can make it either way. Crimp it, crimp. Get your dish up, and we stick it in the oven. And this doesn't take, again, not much time. I would recommend you cook it in a slow oven, like 3 1/4, when you think, Bill?
Yes.
Slow oven, 15 to 20 minutes, and you have the most delicious main course you've had in a long time. Put it in there, go back to your fireplace, and in it goes. Stick it in the oven, and we come right back, and we'll make the accompaniment, which is the sweet and sour red cabbage with some fried apples on top. And the meal is completed. Ben Franklin, you're the man.
On another trip to Britain, Franklin spent time with his good friend and fellow scientist, Joseph Priestley. Priestley was conducting groundbreaking experiments, establishing the presence of oxygen and carbon dioxide in our atmosphere. Franklin, upon seeing Priestley's experiments with mice, plants, and air, was able to make the connection between living things and the air we breathe. Until that moment, it was believed that trees emitted toxic vapors and should be cleared away from places where people lived. It took Franklin to realize the critical role of plants to clean our air and how dependent we are on our environment. Franklin, among all his many other discoveries, is responsible for sparking our understanding of ecology.
So now we're going to finish this fantastic meal in honor of Ben Franklin. And all we're going to serve with is a little bit of sweet and sour red cabbage. Now, the difference between this cabbage that I'm doing today And the cabbage that would have used in the 18th century would have been that their cabbage would have been cooked into mush. Where nowadays we like our vegetables a little bit more al dente. So just take any kind of red cabbage and just cut it up. All you want to do is a really quick process because you're not really cooking it down. You're just kind of sautéing it a little bit to get this great flavor into it. What the apple does, it gives you a nice little tartness to it. So here, I just take the apple. All I'm going to do here is cut it in a little smaller like so. And then all I'm going to do is just chop that really, really quick. And there's really no right or wrong. This dish comes together in no time. The spider's getting hot, take a little schmaltz or any kind of shortening or butter or oil, whatever you prefer. Put it in your spider. We have some garlic and some shallots. For this recipe I use shallots, I don't use onion. The shallots are a little sweeter. Get it right in there. All right. All right, that's it. All right, the cabbage goes in there. The apple. And I have the sugar. And red wine and vinegar. For this one I use balsamic vinegar because it has a little more flavor to it. Okay. Cabbage in many variations will be served in the 18th century for two reasons. One, it